Bruno Fernandes!
Yeah, well, it's the 2nd of January 2024, and we are here with the first Beat the Press of the year. And there's a lot of things that we need to dissect. There's a lot of things because a lot of people are sobering up after that New Year's celebration. And of course, we got to talk about the overall budget. What's the implication that's going on? Because not much to be excited about, according to the latest reports, that there's going to be no incomings pretty much for Manchester United. And is Sir Ineos, and what do I call them, Sir Ineos, the overall apparatus that's coming in to say that, Ten Hag, sorry, we're not going to back you. We don't have any money. And leading to another question is because Ineos or Ratcliffe's deal still is not approved. That means that they need to go through the Premier League fitness and operationals approvals. New York Stock Exchange. That means that they cannot really pump in any money into the club. So has this manager been set up for a failure? We're going to discuss about that. Has the manager been dealt a really bad hard hand in the beginning of this 23 campaign? 100% he has been. But the manager also come out to say that all the fresh injuries that's coming back in the mid-January will be like a fresh new signings. But I think this is the way Manchester United is going at the moment, guys. That is the way it is, and we just have to have a serious conversation. Another thing is also what was coming out fresh from the press, Beat to Talk. No other than Wayne Rooney is looking to get sacked after 15 games within Brighton, Bournemouth, I think it was. I can't really remember which one it was. Hang on. And would that be a potential candidate? Stick around, have a zip on your coffee. We are here with Mark Nurse as well. So how you doing, Mark? You're all
Chilling,
good?
enjoying the day so far. It is quiet. Just looking at all the news and the rumblings about it. A lot of interesting things being said. My question is like yours, Mick, always. Where's the money coming from? Where's the finances? How are we making these things possible? You know
It
what I
is.
mean?
It
These are the
is, my
questions
friend.
I urge everyone to just make sure you take into consideration before it's okay to listen to the transfer rumors and everyone, pretty sure even myself, I've heard some stuff about players coming in, like we're looking at a few players, but I'm still gonna say, well, I'll preview the reports, bring them out to everyone, but
Yeah,
also take it into consideration that, we need to either sell to buy or, wait until more funds are available. So
yeah. Listen, for you guys, this is I did a little bit of a hangover show yesterday because I felt obliged to come in. Anyway, this is our first start of the year, first morning show, and happy birthday to all of you. Happy New Year, sorry, 2024. Here we
big
go.
up.
Let's kick off the show, Mark. Let's do this, people. And for everyone that's coming in, big up for all of you. We're going to shout you out as per usual. Stephanie Griffith is here saying, no surprise, really. It's the way we'll continue to operate until the new owners are completely removed from our club. Big up Mick and VR Room as always, and big up to you, Mark, as well. And that is pretty much the way the club is focusing for the remaining of the season. The way I read into it, Mark, as well. We're not going to do anything in the transfer market if Ineos gets approved, or I don't know, Ratcliffe and its team. It's all going to be about optimization to trim the bush to make the yard look bigger. We're going to be manscaped, to be honest, right? So that is the challenge what they're facing. To trim the wage bills. There was reports going out there that we're not going to trigger Raphael Varane an extension. Instead, shamefully, we're going to ask him to stay for lower wage. But on the other hand, we're going to reward the mediocre players like with another year extension, like Johnny Evans, like Lindelof. And that gives me an indication, Mark, that we are not going to back this manager at all. It's sink or swim.
Well, in a way, I have a slightly different opinion of that. I think I think it's okay that we renegotiate Varane's contract. I think it's only fair because he is, I would say, our best defender by quality and reputation. But in the last few years, he hasn't been available as much. His performances has been up and down. He had some good spells last season. He's having a good spell right now. I think it's always something that the club, should be thinking about. He's not undeniable in my opinion, and unless you're undeniable, your wage should be evaluated.
Mm.
So think that, it's not going to be a bad thing if we're manscaped. Being manscaped means that we're going to, make things better, get it neat. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Feel like we need to remove some players from the team. It might be a shock to some people the types of players removed and who is removed. But
Yeah, no, no, that's a proper conversation. Just going to return back to the news stage here as well to give you guys a little bit of a more content what is mean because Ineos were announced as the new minority shareholder. However, the Premier League is ratifying the deal still, which is expected to take another 8 weeks, 10 to 8 weeks plus the New York Stock Exchange. So January help will pretty much be about all about the outgoings to support any incomings in the current Jadon Sancho's wage demands mean moving him is been proven difficult. Raphael Varane might be kept along with Casemiro for now, while Anthony Martial's future remains uncertain. There's been rumors to say that we might offload him to Saudi Arabia. We might get some money, but it is what it is. Donny van de Beek has now confirmed that he's complete his loan to Frankfurt. So I don't know where the money is coming from, right? However, the transfer expert Dean Jones has told Gimme Sport that United might not do any business at all in January, and Ineos are more intent on improving the football structure at the club currently. So that's what's coming out from the press, and that is the most realistic way that I see it. If you've seen the books, you've seen the finances, where's the money going to come from? And on the other hand, I did a piece this morning and there was an article regarding Jean Todibo to say that the path is clear for Todibo because Spurs are looking for another target. Chelsea is struck by FFP, and the deal is there to be made if we have 50 million, which we don't have.
yeah, to be honest, like I would say again, like I'm gonna look at it and consider it on the perspective as it's a possibility if there's money, if they find some form of sales. I always think, from my perspective, from the start of the season, knowing Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay were in the shop window and we weren't able to get the money that we were trying to ask for. With the performances this season, I think they're going to be increased in value in this window. I think you might see West Ham come back in for Harry Maguire. You might even see
Hmm.
West Ham, might even see Bayern Munich come back in for Scott McTominay. So
Hmm.
if these things were to happen, I
Then we
think it's
will.
positive because then you might see, an addition to the squad. But the most important thing for me is outgoings, Mick. And I would always
It
say,
is
like,
outgoings, yeah,
let's not be
true.
afraid to let the squad be trimmed. I know people are afraid for change. Change is something new, and it's difficult. I know even if we was to lose Bruno Fernandez, which I'm a fan of, if we was to lose him based on someone makes an offer and they
Hmm.
decide to move him on, Marcus Rashford as well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not
But
afraid of that
I'm not
because
afraid, but I'm,
we need
I'm just
change and we have young
we
players
I
coming
hear
through,
what
Mick.
you're saying, and I'm not opposing anything that it's good for to optimizing, but optimizing the wrong players to give the wrong players contracts, and that just reeks of mediocrity. Like it just reeks of we're not going to back you, Ten Hag. We're going to make it worse for you. Like yeah, Rafael Varane injury prone. But they're talking about like maybe lower down his wage demands to keep him on. He doesn't want to really leave. What was the latest report that I was saying? Martial needs to go long time ago. Marcus Rashford, yeah, you get one season, 30 goals. Marcus Rashford this season is just been shambolical. And he's one of the highest earners as well. So there is something that you can still have a conversation. Marcus, you want to stay at the club, lower down your wage bill to 275 and put the rest in performance bonus, right?
Yeah.
Jolim, I mean, what you're saying, Evans is a player Erik Ten Hag wanted, though. There's why he left the club. Also, our youth player got somewhere good to learn from, 100%. But what I'm fearing here is that we're going to dip into the youth academy and start selling them off to trim the squad, which is absolutely wrong. Reginald Hall, what you're saying, I still think that we are struggling in the transfer market in the summer as well. Still owe the banks millions because of the greedy Blazers. Yeah, greedy Blazers. Yeah, I never had a greedy Blazer, but I know what a greedy Glazer is. So we have to be on the skeleton crew for the players. 100%. And I want to bring in something to the fray as well because there's a lot of changes to be planned in terms of personnel being shifted out of key positions. Um, Not only if you look at the overall FFP, Mark, it's not just the player squad, it's the overall wage bill of the entire footballing operational side. The lady in the cantina, everyone that's part of the salary, it's part of the problem. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to oversee, like, who is a waste of space and who they can ship on, which is called the 100-day review. On the other hand, I want to bring in my good friend Swedish Rumble as well, which did a fantastic tweet. And I'm just going to switch us back to the main newsroom, Mark. So basically, Swedish Rumble said a brief comments on MUFC FFP position. Letting Martial go on a free clears his salary, which is about 13 million for full year, and hence roughly a 6.5 million saving if it goes in January. That is correct. We said to come 20. We are set to come 28 million pounds below budget due to our loss in Champions League performance and no Europa. That's correct. But it's important to underline that Ratcliffe's investment will improve FFP positions with 90 million. This is also correct, but so we could spend in January. Yes, definitely what Swedish Rumble is saying. Theoretically, we could probably spend 400 million without getting into trouble as per 30th of June 2024. But if we did that, it of course would be a significant if we cut what we could spend during the summer transfer window. And what does this mean, Mark? 100%. Well, in theory, Swedish Rumble, I love you. You've always been spot on, and you're my brother from another mother. You know that. So in theory, yes, if we get Martial off the wage bill, yeah, that frees up about 6.5 million in savings. We are missing out on 28 million in revenue due to Europa. But at the end of the day, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his consortium is still ratified, and that's going to take you another 8 weeks. So theoretically speaking, they cannot do anything in the January window until summer. So I see it more from a realistic perspective. This is not going to happen. January window is closing end of January. This is going to take time. I think that Ten Hag is forced to go on loan or see his comeback players from injuries as a fresh new signings.
Yeah, but I also paid attention to one of the sentences that he said that struck me, which says that if United were to spend money in January, as long as as Sir Jim invests money by the 30th of June 2024, then it doesn't affect our FFP
Oh,
negatively.
do you mean it's like, IOU, like, it's
Yeah,
a
like an
letter of
IOU.
intent? Yeah,
So
it's a
in
letter of
that
intent.
regards, I'm thinking theoretically, as he's speaking, it makes a little bit of sense that you see we might be linked to one
Yeah.
or two players that
But from a
may
legal
come
perspective,
about to about
yeah.
50 to 90 million in purchases.
But from a legal perspective, though, Mark, let's have this conversation. From a legal perspective, you made an agreement between the buyer party and the seller party, but it's not really been approved by the government bodies and stuff like that, right? So there hasn't really been a transaction as of yet. So I need to do investigation. Is it possible to do that? Like, to do that letter of intent? Like to say, if this happens, here it is, right?
Well, in that perspective, I think that's more of an agreement between him and the Glazers because, as we know, they are our owners and they don't really invest any of their money. But who's to say he may not have a previous agreement with them that says, "Listen, you're going to spend this allotment in January. I'm going to put it back by June 30th." Right? This is our agreement. You spend this much, I put back this much, or whatever the case is, and maybe they have a pre-agreement arranged. So I'm just looking at it from the perspective where it's a possibility. You can
Mhm.
think about it, have it there. Because if he was to have that negotiation, which we are not privileged to the information
Mhm.
to guarantee, then we could theoretically spend somewhere around 90 to 120 million this January.
Mhm.
So
But
if you,
reports and then saying that they're having problems offloading Sancho, so that he might just be embedded back into the squad. Reports also say they're looking to retract Mason Greenwood because he's one of the contracted players still. And why go on the loan market to fish for a striker, which you already have somebody in the book that's playing in Getafe? But it's going to be a lot of I don't know, repercussions within the fan base. Some people don't like it. But at the end of the day, we just got to get by to the end of the season and just see how we finish, right? Bringing up what I spoke to you earlier today was basically Manchester United are in pole position for Jean-Claude Todibo, who is the main target and always been, because it's just basically turned out that Chelsea cannot do any business because of FFP implications, and
and
Genoa, Spurs have moved away. They're going more for the Genoa striker. What's his name? Genoa target. What's his name?
I mentioned it the other day. I think his name is Calazon or something like that. He has a weird name, but
Yeah,
he's a
no,
very decent striker. He's big, powerful.
he's
He
not a
reminds me
striker.
of
Yeah.
of
Rado
a young
Dragushin.
Diego Costa. Huh?
Rado da Dragushin, basically.
Yeah.
Spurs has also shown interest in the play, but they're already making a move to another target, which is Genoa's Radu Dragoshin. So basically, it's a free run for Todibo. And that kind of ties into my suspicion in the way they're treating Raphael Varane at the moment, right?
Mhm.
It kind of ties in. Maybe Todibo is the target they've been targeting since summer. Todibo is now a free shot for them, and basically they are not going to then offer another extension for Rafael Varane, saying, "Oh, you're injury prone. You could stay here, like they did with the Gea, fizz him out, but you have to stay here for a lower wage bill." Now, I'm all up for trimming the squad, 100%, because Manchester United players are Pompadum's FC, right? They've been way overpaid for what they're actually performing on the pitch. So that needs to happen sooner or later, right? But what I'm trying to say right now is that Ineos way to say we're only going to focus right now to optimize the footballing operation to get rid of people. That means that are we just closing the garage for this season, and come what may, Tenag, you can play whatever you want. You can finish 8-7. We don't really care, right? That is kind of the message that I'm receiving by reading this. I don't know. What's your take on it, mate?
Well, in my opinion, I'm gonna look at it from the youth side perspective. We have such a talented midfield class of youth coming through this
100%.
generation, and it's one of my things where I'm happy to see them bed in the squad. But realistically speaking, it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take some players moving on. But they're
Mm,
also gonna need some players to surpass, like a mile stick or a yardstick. They're gonna need one, to be that stalwart that they're gonna pattern themselves after or look to gain experience off of his experiences. So whereas that's why I agree with extending Johnny Evans' contract, I would also agree with the fact that although they haven't just extended Varane's contract, they're still negotiating with him, because I think he would be a great teacher for someone like a
yeah.
young Giorgio Scalvini coming in,
Oh, the
or
latest
even
I
Willie
read now that
Kambala.
he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go. He's happy. So
He's happy,
he might.
but at the same time, like I feel like our squad hasn't been performing that we should have players who are making anywhere close to 300K.
Mm,
I just don't see it right now. If you go on the last 3-4 seasons, the players that are on 300, 400K a week, they've not been that player. So it's like, for me, I understand why the club is trying to renegotiate their
yeah.
wages. Now, if they're trying to save money, it's one thing to say it's just bad and the club is just trying to save money, but it's one thing to be realistic and say, well,
But
listen, the
it's
Glazers don't invest well.
But it's
So
it's it's basically Ed Woodward's fault when he came out to say we can do anything in the transfer market when nobody can. That was just squeezing out the whole toothpaste in the sink, and it's so hard to get that toothpaste back into the tube again. And that has been the United tax. But on the other hand, sure, employment, and people want to come work for you because they come to win shit, like, so it's so, people can come to City because they know they're going to win shit and they're going to take a pay cut because, hey, at least I'm going to win. But at United you haven't won anything, so it's been one kilometer than others. So instead of we haven't been winning anything, so what we have been doing on the transfer market is luring those players to get those players on inflated high wages. Like, I think it starts already. You go back to piano player Sanchez. You know what I mean? That's where it all started, right? So I
100%.
applaud this. I applaud this. And if you go back in January, March, there was even directions from the club before even this takeover that they wanted to reduce the wage bill up to 200 per week. So that has always been reported, and this has always been the intent of the club. Now, I applaud that. We need to do that in order to move forward as a club. But what I don't want is to make it impossible for the manager to even complete his season, because we still have a lot of football to be played, right? So is that the reason why he comes out now being forced to say in interviews that, oh, I'm happy with the current squad and I can't wait till all the injuries coming back because there's like new signings? That's club PR to me.
Well, you have to understand it's like you're working for an entity, and you have to, it's you have to play that middleman between the fans and the entity, as a manager. And you can't always speak your mind 100% because it could impact you negatively on both sides. It could impact you negatively with your bosses. It could impact you negatively with the players that work for you. So
Mm,
I feel like this manager has done one thing consistently over the time he's been at the club, and he's backed his players. He's backed these players. He's given them all a clean sheet,
yeah.
and he's backed them to the hill. You could see with Jadon Sancho last season, all the media and all the fans, going in on Ten Hag now for his treatment on Jadon Sancho. I would like them to readjust their memory, because I think it's short term, because those were the same media folk and same
Mm,
fans that were on Ten Hag last season when Jadon Sancho was away for 3 months and Ten Hag was defending him.
he
Even
was. He
prepared
was.
a team to train him to get him to the physical levels that he needed to get him to. So when you see a manager doing these things, you have to understand that he's in a position where he wants to give these players a chance. He wants to believe in them, but he also knows at the back of his mind that, listen, I could get this other player that's going to do the job I want. Now,
Mhm.
it's the problem is with United and the current rebuild that we are in right now is we don't have the cash flow and
We
the
don't.
owners with the intent that are going to say, let's reset button now, take the losses now, and we'll make up for it later.
But
So
that's where you park that thought, because that's what I'm coming from. Finally, you taking a 360-degree outside and look at the whole situation. I'm trying to put myself in the manager's shoes at the moment, right? I know people are saying there's no style of play. I know Erik ten Hag out, Erik ten Hag in, but look what he's been dealt with and what he has to cook with, right? So he has no freaking support, to be honest. And he has to come out to say, look, I have to play with what I got. And he's not going to even get back in the January window. And Gary Neville comes out and even slams the decision what Manchester United is currently doing, and he's absolutely backing the manager as well. Basically, what are you trying to do? We are Manchester United, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean?
100%.
We are supposed to go out and spend money, get the best players in January in the summer. So I do understand this optimization, which is called marginal optimization by Brailsworth. I do understand, and that is the priority, and that is the step towards the right direction. But don't forget that we have to compete. We're a football club. We need to play games, right?
100%.
So does that mean that we just have to sit here for the remaining of the season and watch us having no reinforcement of the squad, potentially see us losing Varane and play who, right? Not even getting one single signing. The proof will be in the pudding, Mark. But what I'm
Exactly.
trying to say is part of this thumbnail. Ten Hag, you sink or swim. You clear this mess out, right? We were going to use you as a fall guy.
Yeah.
But the
You
whole
know,
problem is the whole backroom operation stuff and the operation above, again, is failing the manager.
Yeah, that's 100%. I agree with that. But I'll just give this one bit of information again to everybody's watching. If you haven't thought about it, I know guys mentioned this recently. The Yarlies comes in with lots of good points, and I have to account for him for this one because he also mentioned it on a stream. Manchester United were on 32 points last season at the same stage where we are at now. We're on 31 points. Last season we had more players available. We had a fitter squad, right? So I want to ask fans and everyone listening, right? At 31 points, as opposed to 1 point better last season with 16 injuries to start the season, inconsistency with the selection of a defense that got us 18 clean sheets, where we were unable to play all four players consistently for more than 1 or 2 games this season, then is Ten Hag really doing so bad? And is it so bad that they're gonna just try to say, well, okay, let's fall on you? I think this manager has a plan. It might not
I
be a plan that everyone
Yeah,
is seeing outright,
well,
but I
but
think he's
I'm going to
accounted
play
for
the
things.
devil's advocate, and I said it yesterday when I had my solo show. I don't recognize Erik Ten Hag this season. I saw what Erik Ten Hag did last season, right? And I saw the style of play that he had. But this season alone, he's trying to play with two number eights in a single CDM and play from the back, which is clearly not working, right? So either as a manager, you need to have adaptation to play towards the current strength of this squad and their abilities, right? But it's so stubbornness, right? Yes, a manager will live and die by the sword, by his team selections and everything, but I cannot defend him for the love of God what he did with Kobe Maino in the last game to sub him off in the half to play with three number eights because that's what it really did, and and come out to say that it was a tactical, right?
So
Listen, at the end of the day, I agree what you're saying. Season is still long. Players are Arsenal bottling it. Liverpool is coming on strong. Newcastle playing on the bare bones. It was like a rough entertainment end to end football yesterday. But you know what? Newcastle crumbled because they don't have a big squad and they're also hit by injuries. So I believe that, and I hope, as a fan, Mark, I hope that this January window with the AFCON break, we're only playing 2 games this January, that you will have a lot of time to think as a manager, where did I go wrong? Because in a normal week to week situation, you don't have much time. Games come like this, right? And to implement stuff in training. So I really hope that this might be the turning point now in January to reflect, go back, analyze, improve yourself as a manager, but also play the players that could play in the best positions, right? Because they've
yeah,
been played
well,
out of position, to be honest, right?
to be fair, I think it's different this season because last season I think he was just doing what he was doing to get results. I don't think we were seeing the manager's philosophy last season as opposed to what he wants to play, the system that he wants to play.
Yeah.
I think we're playing that this season because I think he's stuck with a single pivot because that's his philosophy.
Yep.
That's his ideology on what he wants to see. Now, I disagree with his substitution of Kobe Mainu.
Yeah.
Everyone will disagree with it because he's stamped himself into this team and he's shown he's a good player. But again, on the weekend when I was doing the watch along with Poppy, I was saying to myself, the Man United midfield is flat. We need a change. And for the love of me, I think he would have got pelters if he had took off Christian Eriksen, who was shambolic the entire game. I
Yeah,
think
he was. He
he was
was.
the reason that the entire team had a poor performance. Bruno
It
had a
was
lot
not
of
again.
wasted
No, I
passes.
agree. Yeah.
A lot of players were affected by his performance because every time they tried to pass the ball to Ericsson, he either was not getting the ball, not making the run,
Mm.
not reading the play, or just letting the other player pick up the pass. So I think it's one of those things where it's a transition where we're gonna see issues pile up, but if you look at the start of the season till now, the team has performed much better. The
Mm.
defense is more compact. When we play the single pivot now, the midfield is stronger. Like I don't see teams ripping us apart like they've been doing for the first 10 games. So it's more like for the last few games we lost, if you look at the stats would show that we were the better team in each game. We had more shots on target, we had more possession, we had better transitions in each game, but we lost because why? Our attacking output was not good enough. Now,
No,
that speaks on the inconsistency of the squad. But if you look at the different performances, you could see that there's improvement in the defensive structure, it's
it is.
improvement in the midfield, and
It
it's
is.
doing the same system. It's not a change. He didn't change to a double pivot. The players who are playing in the positions, they are starting to do what is required of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, big up, Mark. But, some people say there's no consistency, but it's not the manager's job to fix the consistency. I always say that's down to each individual, like, to be consistent yourself and how you apply yourself, right? And
For
as a
sure.
leader on the pitch, if you're a captain, you should demand everything about your players to be more consistent and fight for each other. And that is the difference when I look at yesterday's game, Newcastle down to the bare bones, but still coming back at Liverpool, still like beating the press And we simply cannot do that. Maybe it's the mentality. But anyway, good morning, people. We didn't forget you. Tom Charlton, good morning to you. Mick and all. Gas Taylor, good morning to you as well. Gas, how are you? Madhouse is here as well. Good morning to you. We did not forget you. Gas Taylor say we need to get rid of Deadwood. And that's the main priority. We've been screaming out like Deadwood for past 6 years to get rid of the Deadwood. Carlos is saying, big up everyone. I expect fire sale happen this summer. Until this summer. Yeah,
100%.
me too.
100%.
Mario Cardi is here. Hello, United fan.
As
Hello.
usual. I think he likes us, Mick.
He does. He does. I'm sorry for your loss in chat. Oh, did you read the stat about another ex-Manchester United fan that's playing in the Turkish league? We're
Yeah.
talking about Fred. He's doing madness
Fred
over
is-
there.
Well,
He's doing madness.
I was one of those people that liked Fred. To be fair, I thought
like Fred.
McTominay was one of the reasons he got a lot of the bad credits because of
He's a better
McTominay's
player than
by
McTominay.
far. Like, I think losing Fred was big because Fred
Mm.
contributed 12 goals and 11 assists last season. So if you look at that, that's almost 23 contributions at goal. You know what I mean? We only scored so many goals last season, so it's hard when people were saying, "Get Fred out, get him out, he's rubbish." For me, it was more like, no, Fred is that guy that shows up in the team when you need a goal or you need an assist when you least expect it. He's one of those guys you could bring in as a substitute. He runs hard, he works hard, he has that technical ability in him. You might not get an 8 out of 10 every game, but if you could get a 7 out of 10 for 10 games of the season, then that's much better than having McTominay as an option. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree
know?
with that. 100% agree with it. It was a mistake to get rid of Fred. If I had a choice, I'd rather get rid of Scott McTominay than Fred, to be honest.
100%. But
Fred
I
was
think
that presser, that dog on the bone, constantly chasing. Of course, there was a little bit of mistakes, but Fred showed also that he had some technical abilities. And that at the end of the day, he had a Brazilian passport. He could score. Good morning to you, Mr. and Mrs. Talawas. Good morning and blessing to both of you, everyone who's watching. Big up all of you, and Manchester United have a better 2024 season. I totally agree with you. But you know what? It's always the hopes that kills you. And I made a promise to myself, I'm not going to get too emotional. It's going to be game by game.
Campos is saying something. Oh, I watched. Nah, man, I wouldn't even put that comment up earlier. I read that.
Oh,
I was
no, I
like,
didn't see that.
he's a fraud.
Campos
Campos is saying players that should get more than 200K base. The rest should be made up with wins, goals, and clean sheets, etc. Some of these men refuse to run most weeks. That's exactly what I think. You know what I mean? And like the other thing I want to mention is like, fans, we all wonder how players, what's the situation with players and the club retaining players. Sometimes players want to leave. Like Donny has wanted to leave. He's come up with a decision, and it's not because he didn't want to work for the team. He had his chance last season, and he got that injury, and ever since then, he's been thinking about moving himself on. So it's not that Ten Hag doesn't want to give him a chance. He has to stay fit so he could move. And he's moved on to Eintracht Frankfurt. I think it's going to be pretty good for him. Like, it's one of those teams that beat Bayern Munich 5-1 in the Bundesliga this season. And I think with his addition, they're going to be a stronger team. I think it was the same with Fred at the point, because you know what I mean? I think some players have gotten enough abuse and other things when, a lot of players get blamed for games when it's not always their fault.
Yeah, Mark. I do. Listen, I agree what Daniel is saying here as well, because this ties into to add additional point to what we're trying to do at the moment, like with the optimization. So guys, you realize that the greedy Glazers are destroying this club. We already knew that a long time ago, Daniel. Tell me about it. Which club owners takes more money out from the club than the Glazers? That's true. But if you look at this, what we're trying to say with Ineos coming in and trying to trim the squad and get rid of this, basically saving the money, because Glazers, what they've been doing is just leaving the financial dire straits with 5 million quid in the cash reserve. So what are you going to do? You get charge of the football operation, and in order to do so, you need to cut down a lot of wage bids and save the money, which they couldn't do. So basically, you're doing them a favor at the same time, right? I just want to catch up with everyone here in the comments. We are 20 minutes behind. It's going to be impossible. Ramo, the streets in Amsterdam say Erik ten Hag didn't play Donny because he was still pissed about Donny leaving Ajax back then. I don't know. Is it? Guys, I'm so
Madhouse.
sorry, Madhouse. What you saying? Do any other teams have wage cap or bonus strategy? I think they do. Yeah, you should. I've been a big advocate regarding that. You should offer them like a salesman on the job, right? You take a commission, you take a base, which is like 30% base, and rest is performance KPIs. That's what they should done with Marcus Rashford. He came off red hot, scoring 30 goals. He think he was the Billy Bullocks by then. Of course, they chucked him away money, 375. But ever since he's done that, where is the rest?
It's funny,
We are
Mick. On
halfway
Alex
through the season.
Ferguson, we had a wage cap because I remember Dwight York spoke about it once, and he was on like a base salary, and when he scored goals is where he made his money. So he wasn't that was incentive for him to score goals and get assists because when he contributed to the goal, he got a bonus every week.
Yeah, big
So
up. Well, good morning, Adelaide. Good morning, Jeff Steele. Jeff Steele came in and spoke to me yesterday, so he was one of this calling in. This is going to be a
big up
very intense
Jeff.
transfer period. I'm already angry. Donny has been loaned up. Poor Donny. Donny never had a chance. He never stood a chance. He was just sitting there, tucking himself in with his sitting there with his sad
And
face. He should be playing instead of McTominay,
so many
100%.
players came in on the Ollie that didn't get enough game time, and when you hear about it now, you almost would think that it's Erik Ten Hag's fault. Like when people talk about Anthony Langa, he
Yep.
was here on the Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer, and his game time. I think he got more game time under Eric than he got on the Ollie. He got the most under Ralph Ragnick though, but. Let's be honest, sometimes players meet their level when they move on, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's not always about we should have kept him. Look what he's doing now. Sometimes it's just about,
Dion
maybe
Lewis. Yeah,
just
sorry, I
wasn't
got
handling the pressure at
yeah.
the club well.
Sorry, I got to cut that with the comments. Dion Lewis, last January, Erik Ten Hag was backed. Was he with Wood Weghurst and Sabitzer? That was not. I mean, talked about being backed. He wasn't basically. So
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
pretty much. I wouldn't surprise if we see something like Timo Werner coming in here, like a loan deal here and there. Ah,
I won't be surprised to be honest, but I'm thinking maybe if as people are saying, I'm not happy with the 25%, but for the people who are saying, let's give Jim a chance and see what might be done, right? If
how
you look
about
if you
getting
look at
how about approaching getting Sesko for a season loan?
Yeah, but I spoke about these things, Mick. Remember, I've been speaking about it during the season. I spoke about Giorgio Scalvini. Now, today, this morning, you see Goldbridge talking about Giorgio Scalvini to
Scalvini,
Manchester
yeah,
United.
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
been talking about this all the time, and I've been saying that Manchester United have been linked with Benjamin Sesko. He's going to be around 23 million euros if we want to bring him in January, and he's really wanting a move because he's not had a good spell at RB Leipzig since moving from Salzburg, and his performances have been decent, but he has not been getting the game time. So maybe we get a cheeky move for him. You never know what could happen. We might send Sancho over and get him over. There are things that can happen,
Yeah,
and
you could do that.
the
Yeah.
only reason I am saying these things are because I'm on one side living with the real since Jim Ratcliffe is coming, and we've heard what Sir Jim, what's his name, Bravefoot, Dodgy Dave,
Dodgy
right?
Dave. Let's
Dodgy
call him
Dave,
Dodgy.
he might not be,
Dodgy
he
Dave,
might be
yeah.
dodgy, right? But at the same time, I've seen some things about him and what he stands for, and the quality that he sees as an athlete. For me,
But
it
that
would
works
seem
with
that he might be
elite. That
taken
works
into
with elite
consideration.
mentality. That's called percentage, right? Marginal adjustments. So basically, if you're already elite, if I would say to you, how many days do you train per week? 6 days per week. Okay. How many beers do you drink per week? 2 beers per week. Maybe you take away one beer, come back in 1 month and see how it goes. Oh, did it work? Do you feel better? Yeah. Okay, just remove the last beer, and off we go, right? That's marginal adjustments, baby. That is. Guys, before you continue, Stephanie Griffith is kindly remind us to give us a like, give us the thumbs up.
Pick
This
up
is the animated
Stephanie.
thumbs up. You know how it works. I'm going to do it again until you actually press the thumbs up. Press the thumbs up, because YouTube algorithm likes thumbs up, and by doing so, that gives the recommendations to other viewers to view this video as well. So big up, Stephanie, and thank you, and happy new year to you guys too. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, cough. What is the comment saying here? Big up Daniel Davis as well. I'm so behind, guys. McTominay. Okay, come on, come on, come on. You guys can read what you are writing as well. Did I miss anything important today?
Well, like history repeats itself, and Madhouse is bringing the information out. So I'll just highlight it. Getting a young Italian is never easy out of the Italian league, especially when he's getting a debut for the national senior team.
Yeah.
So these things are difficult. And yeah, like Kenny Franskivi is saying, he doesn't trust the club, but I don't as well. But if you take into consideration the reality that is now, Sir Jim is technically and Sir Dave and Dodgy Dave, they're in control of football right now. So if
Oh,
they're in control of
apparently,
football,
according to reports, Sir Jim has flown in. He's having a meeting today, but they're not going to be. And there was report to say they're not going to sack Ten Hag whatsoever. This also came out today. And then you read the report that you know Wayne Rooney lost his job. So is that them lying to your teeth? And perhaps they will sack him and get Wayne Rooney as an interim just
I
to.
mean, now
Oh
I
my
think
god!
if he was to try to get Wayne Rooney as an interim, that would not be something that Dodgy Dave would be thinking, because I think Dodgy Dave would be thinking he's a failure. He's not even a considerable to even manage the club.
But
Because
what
if you
has
look at
Dodgy
Rooney,
Dave proven into football? That's the
well,
thing, right?
I'm not referring to his football acumen really when I say that, but I'm referring to that marginal adjustment theory
By
that you said
cheating
about him.
as well.
Because if you look at Wayne Rooney's performance as a manager, he is pretty much sunk. His performances haven't really leveled out. You know what I mean? His last
Mm.
record from the last club is like almost winless. This record is basically winless. He's sinking. So I don't think he's gonna come in and do a decent job by any means. Big up, AK.
Big up. We have a super chat. Sorry, that was the automatically confetti that went up from A7K donating £10 with a question. Sorry, Mark. You were talking.
Exactly.
Did this blast your ears up because it didn't mine? Like, I don't know
No, no,
what's
no. I think it was pretty good. The levels was
oh,
pretty nice.
was it
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. You want to do this one? Wow.
Let me read out AK's comment. Why are most of our fans happy with Shite Jim? He can't fix us. We need to sell 10, 11 players and buy 8 to 9 top class quality players. That's not going to happen. And I agree with him. It's not going to happen right now. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not happy with Sir Jim. I'm just living in the reality because we all know that this process is happening. And what has been reported officially by the club is that he is taking over football. So only in that regard, I'm going to say, well, there might be some change to our operation. And I'm not saying that because they're great at football. I'm saying that because if Sir Dale's Dodgy Dave is good at anything, it would be assessing the performance and the quality of athletes, right? He's done it in cycling. So in that perspective, I think he might see some of our athletes and be like, these guys aren't what they are reported to be. So maybe we should get them out. So in that
Wow.
perspective, yeah.
But I'm gonna put my response to you there, AK7. Like, you know me and this channel, what this is all about. It's always been, what's best for the club, and the only way what's best for the club is a full sale only, right? I cannot stomach and I cannot see this investment being any good for the club as of yet. Like, what the media is trying to sort of get you giddy and trying you to get on the joyride bandwagon that everything is going to be okay, just to give you the dodgy Dave, perhaps a new CEO, perhaps a director of football. Yeah, that might be the right direction, but we need to fix our finances. We need to fix that debt. We need to fix everything. We need a new stadium or rebuild of stadium, and that's something that they're not going to do. For me, this is just an investment. This is a loan to give to the Glazers, right? If you go back in history, like Glazer was seeking their minority investment with the Apollo Group. Apollo said no. Now they went down, they kicked their finances, they milked the cash cow, Manchester United, called Manchester United cash cow, dry. There's nothing more. They haven't been able to take dividends for 12 months. They were desperately crying out for cash reserves in their own pocket. In comes Judas Jim. I'm sorry to call you Judas Jim, but you basically sold your soul for the remaining of the fan base. Like, if you are a Manchester United fan, you should know the way we feel about the Glazers, only to sort of give them a loan and to obtain 2 seats at the board ain't good enough, like, and then you learn that there is no path for full takeover. There's no exclusivity. Within 18 months the both can sell the shares and anyone can come in and buy on a minimum of $33 per share, right? This is the deal they struck together, right? Has increased the overall evaluation of the club. So whoever wants to come in and buy, they have to pay the premium 8 to 10 billion to buy 100%. And for me, this smells of something that they work together to accomplish, right? So they're like, I call them Ocean 7. You know what I mean? They used to be Ocean 6 and now they're Ocean 7.
Well,
This is the perfect money laundry heist you can ever seen, like,
100%.
this is just my opinion and my opinion alone, but for me, this is not a takeover. Never been a takeover. It's pretty much to feed the Glazers, and the remaining what they're going to pump in, 300 in infrastructure is pretty much converting into shares, more shares, like, yeah.
100%. And like, I totally agree, like in the sense that, United needs a full sale, but the reality is it's not coming yet. You know what I mean? And as much as I would, and we are always in for full sale because it's 100%
But
glazes out. I'm not happy with Sir Jim, and I'll continue to say that.
I'm not
So
happy, but I'm willing to give it with my critical eye, and every fan should do that, no matter who comes in as a custodian of the club. Like, there's one thing that we don't want, because we had 18 years of mismanagement and abuse. I might say abuse, right? So we don't want another 18 years of this, right? So, and I don't understand fans why they are celebrating on this 25% and say, oh, well, everything's going to be okay. Well, wake up, smell the coffee. It's not, right.
yeah,
Our fan base is so
celebration.
easily fooled, right? It's like wherever the wind is blowing, they will go with it. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Like, this is typical Glazenomics. Like, to forget that we are still in the background. We give you a new CEO, we give you the new shiny player, the latest thing. But the problem is still the same. The elephants are still in the room, right?
100%. This
And
is what I was saying.
that
This
is
is
what is
what you were
bothering me.
saying.
Yeah.
This is what we were saying all along. Like, no matter what, unless he's taking full ownership or he lays out a clear pathway or something like that, it's something that's always going to not sit well with fans because
Mm.
you've
But,
experienced the 18 years. You've experienced the Glazers, man. Like, it's not
but there's
nothing like any other owner. Like, for other
yeah,
clubs
but
to compare themselves to us is difficult. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, if you think that change is going to happen over one night with this ratification or this optimization, it ain't, because it's marginal improvements what Dale Brailsford is doing, right? Um, every time you have a restructure within any kind of organization, of course, it's going to take you always put a 3 to 5 year vision plan for change, right? Structural change. And it's a massive uphill battle to actually manage the overall mismanagement of finances, what the Glazers have done so far, right? So they basically trashed the whole place and then appointed some custodians to take care of the after party, to clean up the mess. And that's what it is, right? And then they can always use them as a fail, like as a, what do you call it, a blame, shame and blame. Oh, well, that didn't work out. See you later, bye, right? So we will see, but it doesn't sit well in my stomach, to be honest. And I look at how we're going to perform as a team. I want to win things. I want to look at it for footballing reasons, not for business reasons, because at the end of the day, we fans, we are consumers of the game. That's what we're here for. We want to be entertained. We want to watch our football win. We want to play good style of football, but we don't want to be bothered with what's going on behind the scenes and, how much money in the transfer, how much this. But unfortunately, we've been dragged into this because the Glazers never been communicating whatsoever. So first thing that needs to be fixed, have somebody, a government, a body to speak and communicate to the fan base, right? We have 5 different, what do we call it, self-proclaimed fan base forums to speaking directly to the Glazers, but they're not doing the fans a big favor. Hello, Sanjay. How are you doing? Anyway, guys, that's just a morning discussion, heavy discussion. To summarize what we have been speaking about today, Mark, like since we are approaching the 50-minute mark, the report's coming out that there will not be any January spendings, pretty much outings. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in town apparently, but reports coming out to say that most likely they will optimize, focusing on restructuring the footballing operation, meaning get rid of a lot of players, not only players but also staff. So Sir Dale Brailsford is there to be the smiling assassin, to be honest, to say, so what you do here? Okay, you're out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and for me, it sounds like we are giving up the season already and pulling the rug out of the manager. You're not going to get a reinforcement. Do whatever you want. Play with what you got already. So I'm sorry for the manager in this way.
In a way, it's a difficult situation to call because the takeover or whatever it is now coming to the point where you're going to get information as to what is the goal, the direction, and everything concrete laid out eventually. Right now, it doesn't look like we're going to do much transfers. However, there are
It's not a
reports Lincoln
takeover.
United,
It's an investment. It's not a
but the
takeover.
investment, you know what I mean? So, like, for what it is, there's still reports saying that, there could be some investment and it could be based on some kind of clause that as long as we pay, Sir Jim puts investment in the club by June, it might work depending
Like
on that.
Madhouse is saying, Glazers never intended a full sale to begin with. I think they still are. Because I think they think that this club is worth 10 billion. Right.
I
That's
think
the
that they
sweet
think
spot.
that as well.
And what they've done now here is a clever move, and they work together with Ineos on this one to say, instead of 69%, why don't you take 25%? We get what we want. We put a buyout on 33, and whoever comes in now, we have an agreement that anyone that comes in now has to bid over $33 per share, right? So if you're going to buy everything out, it's going to be about roughly 8 to 10 billion, and that is what the Glazers always wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm calling Ocean 7.
Yeah, I mean, the Glazer 7, in my opinion, I wouldn't even say Ocean 7. That was a nice movie. I wouldn't want to taint that by
I don't
adding
want to
them to
take
it.
it.
The
Now you see me,
Glazer
now you
7,
don't.
you know what I mean?
Or you know
Ivo
that movie,
Bosic,
now you see me, now you don't. The illusional trick.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ivo Bosic is really mad at the manager right now. I could understand why. He think the manager catfished us. But, I'd remind Ivo that under Sir Alex Ferguson, it took Alex 6 years before he won a title. His first 4 seasons wasn't that great. And if the club didn't have faith in Sir Alex, he wouldn't have the legacy he had today. So I'm not saying Ten Hag is on his level, but I'm saying if you look at the season, last season, which was like 12 months ago, right? And you look at this season on this hand, we were 32 points at this same stage last season. We're 31 points right now. And if you said we beat Liverpool last season and we beat Arsenal, I mean, we could still beat Liverpool and we could still beat our Arsenal because there's return legs, just like they were last season, which we lost. So, we beat them one way and they beat us the other. That happened last season. It's probably just the turnaround. We beat them in the first game, we lost the second game. Man City beat us in the first game last season, we won the second game. It's the same thing this season. So there's possibilities, guys. You know what I mean?
Morning, peeps. Just sober up. Welcome to 2024, my friend. I guess half of the world was hangover yesterday, and I managed to do a 60 minutes on popular demand. It's like, man, come on, do a stream. And it's like, I struggled, but we are here, still feeling the consequences. But we still have to be positive, Mark. We still have to believe that. I mean, I refuse to give up. That's the thing, right? And I certainly hope that this January period is going to be Afghan, and I'm going to change my name to an African name because I'm going to be called Coffee Ruby. Because I drink a lot of coffee, and coffee is an African name. Kofi Annan, coffee, yeah?
Yeah. So you're backing the players in AFCON. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
Nigeria,
don't
brother.
disagree with that, Mick. In my opinion, like there's some players at this team and some young players coming through. And I'll be honest and say I'm backing this manager because I've seen what he can do last season when he's just trying to get results. I've seen what his system has done this season when it clicks and the players do things right. So I'm saying I'm gonna give him time because like Evo said earlier, back in the days, there was not much money and infinite patience. We have lots of money. We should just have more patience right
What
now.
money?
You know what I mean? What
We
I'm
don't have
saying, like
money.
we don't have money to spend right now, but the club still has money. We have the wealth of young players, a talent. The problem right now, our biggest problem is in midfield. We have a wealth of talent in midfield coming through the ranks right now. You know, this is something that's going to boost us up. You know what I mean? When you look at the fact that there's a young Willie Kambala that most of everyone did not know anything about, you know, it's just like Kobe Mainu when we were talking about him for the first 3 weeks, 6 weeks of the season, Mick. And I was telling you, Kobe Mainu, look at that guy. He's gonna set himself into the team. Everyone laughed. They said, "This kid, he's only 18. Where am I getting the sample size from?" Now look at it. When he got subbed, everyone is melting down. I'm telling you guys, give it a little bit of patience. You've seen 1 or 2 games from Willie Kwambala. Don't be so mad if we don't extend Varane. I think Willie Kambala is one of those players that will come good. He
Yeah, he
has the
will come.
talent, he has the ability, and he's shown it in some big games this season already. You know, I
Yeah.
just have to say Liverpool at Anfield, 0-0. Willie Kambala, 90 minutes. Come on, guys. You know, take it in stride. I understand we're Manchester United and we aren't supposed to be in 7th, but we're 1.5 seasons into a rebuild that's taken damn near too slow for fans to like. And for my part, you might look at it as a calendar of events and it's not hitting the targets. True. I can agree with that. But
Yeah.
sometimes you don't always hit the target. Sometimes you hit bumps in the road and you hit forks and you have to go left to go right. And in the end, you persevere and you make it out on top. And I think with this manager and with the current crop of midfield youth that are coming through,
We can
it
do
might
it.
not be so bad if we lose some
Okay,
players.
I'm gonna ask you before we close the shop. We're approaching. I want to keep this under 160 minutes, and we have 4 minutes left to broadcasting. I asked everyone, and I want to ask you: do you think that Manchester United will finish top 4?
100%. I
You
didn't
believe?
think so earlier on in the season, but when like I've been saying all along, every team has to play each other. This league is more competitive this year than last season. And
Okay.
while people would make the excuses that Liverpool was poor and Chelsea was poor and other teams were poor last season, I'm gonna say to you that that's just football, and sometimes teams just aren't playing well, right?
Yeah,
And that's just how it goes sometimes in football.
it's football. I'm gonna keep my powder dry to say I'm not gonna get my hopes up, and that was my New Year's resolution because this team has hurt me a lot emotionally before the New Year's. I couldn't sleep. I was awake, wide awake, thinking. But there's no escapism for me because I'm gonna, press record after every single game. I just have to take it game by game, but I still believe that we can do it. I still believe we can get into top 4, but I'm not going to get, my hopes up because at the end of the day, it's the hope that kills you, guys. Anyway, it's been fantastic morning show stream. It's the first Beat the Press. And did I say be depressed?
Beat the press, not
Beat the
beat the
Press.
press.
I almost sound like Beat the Press anyway. Guys, thank you for coming in. Thank you for supporting this channel. We only going places from now on. There's a lot of exciting things coming out from Realist TV. Website to be launched. A lot of interactive stuff. Player of the match. A lot of interactive. Build your own team. Stuff like that. It's going to be amazing. Mint, 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 mint. And we're still trying to land here, Mark, to figure out what broadcasting we will do because there's not much football content going on. Other than perhaps we'll cover a little bit of this Yaya tour. Yaya. What's your name going to be, by the way? Yaya Mark or what?
More likely, probably more like Shaka. Shaka
Shaka.
Hislop was a player from my country and he has an African name, so I'd probably be like Shaka Mark.
Shaka. Shakalaka Mark, yeah? Shaka
You
boom,
know,
shakalaka laka, yeah.
something like that will be more interesting for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for supporting us in the morning. Hopefully, we had our say and hopefully, we made your better day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us a little bit of a thumbs up. Give us a little bit of love and support. It's the New Year's after all, Mark. Big up for having your say as well. We should see you into the next one. That's all for us, folks. Thank you for watching. Big up to all of you. Bye for now.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Release TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.